Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Wrap with Michael Kravetz. And on today's episode, we'll be getting into a lot of different things, but first we're going to start it off with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have been the talk of the town, and boy, are they on fire. They recently wrapped up the Eastern Conference semifinals with the Ottawa Senators beating them 4-1 in a truly impressive manner when you consider what happened in the past 3 games. Last time we talked, we had the show. The Penguins were up in the series 2-0. The series was switching over to Ottawa, and the Penguins, they haven't been playing that well on the road in these playoffs. You know the difficulties they had in New York against the Islanders, so they wanted to play differently. And in Game 3, boy, it was a classic, to say the least. It was a very low-scoring game. The Penguins got the first goal on the board at around, actually with about a little over a minute to go in the second period, when Tyler Kennedy just blistered a shot. He was alone in front of the net after a turnover by the Senators. The shot rang off the crossbar and in behind Anderson, gave the Penguins a 1-0 lead, and you thought that with the goalie play by Vokoun that the Penguins were going to hold on for that 1-0 victory. But it wasn't until late in the third period, and I mean with 35 seconds to go, the Penguins were on a power play. And in this game, they were 0 for 6, including a 5-on-3. Really just one of those rare nights where the Penguins' power play wasn't clicking. And the Penguins, for some, I don't know what reason, Bylsma had Letang, Malkin on the ice. Really, you would figure that he would have their best puck possessors on the ice with just under a minute to go to conserve the victory. But Daniel Alfredsson got behind the Penguins' D. It was just lazy play by Malkin and Letang. He was alone in front of the net. They got it to him, and Alfredsson put a goal behind Vokoun, a shorthanded goal with 28 seconds to go to tie the game at 1, and the game would go to overtime. And in the overtime, the first overtime, the Penguins had multiple scoring chances. Malkin was robbed by Craig Anderson after going by a defender. The first 2 minutes of the overtime, the Penguins had 6 shots. The Senators had none. A Dupuis shot later in the overtime rang off the post. It would have gone in. The shot were a little more to the right. And it was scoreless after one overtime. And in the second overtime, the Penguins had another chance on the power play early in the second OT. Couldn't get a goal. And then the Senators had a chance on the power play. They could not get a goal. They were 0 for 3 in this game as well. But with about 13 minutes to go in the second overtime, a backhand off of the rebound by Colin Greening goes past Vokoun to give the Senators an emotional 2-1 victory. And this game was long, hard-fought, lasted about 4.5 hours. The Penguins put 50 shots on goal. Anderson made 49 saves. This was definitely a bounce-back game for him after a shaky couple of starts in Pittsburgh. Vokoun played spectacular as well, only allowing 2 goals on 48 shots. Just both great play by both goalies. And a lot of the talk in Pittsburgh after this game was Bylsma's decision to have the certain players on the ice and that on that last power play in regulation. And I agree. You should have had Craig Adams out there. You should have had Pascal Dupuis. You should have had your best penalty killers, I think, at that moment out there. And even though the Senators had their goalie pulled to make it 5-on-5, still, it wasn't the smartest strategy by Dan Bylsma. So after this game, Spezza returning. A lot of the people in Ottawa had some faith that, okay, the Senators, they know they can beat this team. Now here we go, trying to even up the series at 4. And in Game 4, Ottawa answered first. Milan McCulloch, another shorthanded goal, something not really you've seen from the Penguins on the power play in these playoffs. Letang was caught off guard. He was upset about not getting a penalty call, and he didn't get back in position, so Ottawa went up 1-0. And at this point, because I had recorded the game, I was thinking, oh, this is not good for the Penguins. But James Neal, who up to this point only had 1 goal in the entire playoffs, finally scored off the face-off in the top shelf. Great assist by Jerome McGinley to tie the score at 1. But then Ottawa answered right back. About a minute and a half later, Kyle Turris who has been a spark for the Senators in these playoffs. Another bad play by Letang. He knocked down Tomas Vokoun. It was really just sloppy play in front of the net, so Ottawa went up 2-1 at the end of the first period. And the Penguins were out shooting the Senators, 16-11. They had more scoring chances than the Senators, but they just couldn't put enough behind Anderson. And in the second period, it was all Penguins. Chris Kunitz jumped out early, about a minute into the period. He got a goal, got behind one defenseman. Erik Karlsson did not get back. He had a breakaway, put it through the 5-hole, his fourth of the playoffs. And then Jarome Iginla, about 40 seconds later, an open net off a rebound pass from a Letang shot, give the Penguins a 3-2 lead. And just like that, the Penguins, they jump on a team when they see that they're in the headlights. And then in the third period, Neal answers again with a power play goal off a Gonchar penalty. It was off the backboards. Some people have said that Crosby was deliberately shooting it off the backboards to get to Neal, which would have been insane, but some have said that he just missed the net on that play. But it was a great feed. Neal got it, put it in the twine, gave the Penguins a 4-2 lead, and then the onslaught came. Dupuis, a shorthanded goal. Cook was around the net, a nice backhand pass to Dupuis. Sergei Gonchar, Craig Anderson were not ready for it. Penguins go up 5-2, and then the backbreaker for sure. Sidney Crosby, a breakaway backhander at about the 8:40 mark to give the Penguins the 6-2 lead. And then Iginla, again a power play goal to put the Penguins up 7-2. The final would be 7-3 in this game. The Pens power play back on track, 2 for 5. Neal, 2 goals and assists on 9 shots. Letang, 4 assists after starting off the game so poorly. Iginla, 2 goals and assists. Crosby, a goal assist. Dupuis, a goal and assist. So just all-around good play by the Pens. And in this game, Morrow did not play due to an unspecified injury. Jussi Jokinen was back in, and Bo Bennett replaced Tanner Glass. So coming back to Consol with the Penguins up 3-1, and it was a Game 5 now. The Penguins, they wanted to come out with more desperation than the Senators. They knew they wanted to close this game out, not go back to the Scotiabank Place. And the Penguins answered first. Brendan Morrow back in the lineup, replacing Bo Bennett. Jokinen would stay in. He got a goal. Cook blew by Jeff Cowan. Eaton shot it. It was a pass to Morrow's stick. Went off his skate in the net. The goal was reviewed, but it was upheld. Penguins go up 1-0. And in this game, Coach Paul McLean, he didn't want to leave anything out on the table. He wanted to put Spezza, McCulloch, and Alfredson on a super line to try and get their scoring going, but it would not work. The Senators came out of the gate really sluggish, and that's something you can't do when you're desperate. They only had 1 shot in the first 8 minutes of the game. Not good. Matt Cook had a really strong first period. The Penguins would go up 1-0 at the end of the period. And going into the second, Neal answers again. The power play goal puts the Penguins up 2-0. Then Letang gets a 4-on-4 goal to put the Penguins up 3-0. So at this point, I thought the game was finished. But the Senators had some life left when Milan McCulloch scored a goal just with about 4 minutes to go in the second period. But Malkin, another backbreaker, about 30 seconds to go in the period, a 4-on-4 goal. He was on the breakaway. A bad play by the defenseman Pajot. He overhandled the puck for the Senators. Penguins go up 4-1 to end the second period. And in the third, domination by the Penguins. Neal gets both of the Penguins' goals in this period to get a hat-trick, his first career playoff hat-trick. Penguins win the game 6-2 and finish off the Senators in 5 games. His last goal was a pretty nice toe drag and finish. The Pens power play only scoring once, went 1 for 4, but the Senators 0 for 5. Letang, a goal and 2 assists. Malkin, a goal and assist. So Letang, the last 2 games of the series, 6 assists and a goal. Just unbelievable. And now, if you look at this, the Penguins, the re-emergence of James Neal has just been incredible. Because going into Game 4, 1 goal in the entire playoffs. He was pretty much the missing link of this team, and he just gets it going all of a sudden. More shots to the net, it's going to go in. 5 goals, 2 assists in his last 2 games. So that's just just incredible. I think he's back now. He's feeling confident, and the chemistry, of course, with Malkin is just insane right now, and Iginla is getting there well. And in this series, what I found interesting, Daniel Alfredsson's comments after Game 4. He said he's an honest captain. He's been in this league for 20 years. Some people were saying it was maybe a psychological ploy. I doubt it. He said that we don't have a chance. Well, he didn't say that. He said it's really unlikely that we're going to come back and beat this team 3 times in a row. Because when you look at it, yes, the Penguins were just that much better than the Senators, and he was being honest. But he said he was focused on Game 5. Unfortunately, they just didn't have enough left in the tank to try and take the series back to Ottawa. And once you look at this series, I mean, the Senators, if they had everyone at full health, it would have gone longer. Carlson, not healthy just yet. Spezza, definitely not healthy. And they just couldn't match the Penguins offensively. And the Senators, yes, their defense was good, but it couldn't stop the Penguins whatsoever. So it wasn't really an even series to begin with. And if you look at this, the Penguins' offense is on track to being one of the highest scoring offenses in the playoffs in history. Right now, they're only behind the 92 and 93 Penguins for averaging in goals per game, because they've had 11 games so far in these playoffs. They are averaging 4.3 goals. That's insane. They've scored four goals in 6 of the 8 playoff games, of their 8 playoff wins. That's just unbelievable. And if you think about their offense, all 8 wins have been, the game-winning goals have been scored by 8 different players. Chris Kunitz, Bo Bennett, Tyler Kennedy, Brendan Morrow, James Neal, Chris Letang, Evgeny Malkin, Brooks Orpik. Notice that none of them that I listed were named Sidney Crosby. So that just goes to show you the kind of depth that this team has. And someone is stepping up to get the winning goal every night. And so, when you look now at the goalie situation for the Penguins, I think it is safe to say that Tomas Vokoun is officially the guy. Even if he loses, there was speculation that after that loss to the Senators in double overtime, that Fleury could come back and play Game 4. But Vokoun has shown that he has been solid in the net. The only loss in the playoffs is in double overtime. And that was the Penguins, in their mind, their best game of the playoffs so far, the loss. He's just been incredible. He's had a 185 goals against average, which is number 2 in the playoffs. A 941 save percentage, also ranked 2nd. And it seems like he doesn't get flustered at any point in time. Now, in the next series, if they lose a game, maybe 3-1, 4-2, I still think he will get the next start. The only way I see him is if he loses 2 in a row, or if he gets badly beaten in a game, like 6-2, or he allows like 5 goals in a period. That's the only way I could see Fleury possibly getting back in the playoffs. But I do feel bad for Fleury, but it was on him. He played poorly against the Islanders, and Bylsma, the only thing he had to do was go to Vokoun, who was a reliable backup. And that's why Shiro got him before the beginning of this year. They needed a second goalie in case Fleury would have these struggles again in the playoffs. And it just so happened that signing Vokoun has worked out. And another strong thing for the Penguins, the power play and the penalty kill. Power play still ranking number 1 at 28.3%. It's just unimaginable. And their penalty kill, which I thought would be one of their weak spots in the playoffs, now number 2 of the teams remaining, 89.7%. They've only allowed 4 goals on 39 times being shorthanded. So that's just incredible. And so, the series preview now for the Eastern Conference Finals. The Boston Bruins eliminated the Rangers in 5 games, winning last night 3-1. Strong performance, a bounce-back performance for Tuukka Rask, who just had an abysmal showing at times against the Rangers in Game 4. And this Boston Penguins series, this was my prediction for the finals, and I think it's going to be very even. Of the 3 opponents the Penguins have had, the Islanders by far were the fastest team. I think Boston has the better core group of defensemen, even though Ottawa might, but they weren't fully healthy. I think Boston's definitely the toughest team out of the 3. Offensively, I don't know if they're as strong. They definitely have the players on paper, but in the playoffs they really haven't performed to that level. But I see this series going pretty long, and I think it's going to be a back-and-forth affair. Both teams evenly matched, but the Penguins have had the upper hand recently. The past three times, or excuse me, in the playoffs, the series are tied 2-2, with the Penguins meeting the Bruins 4 times. But the last time they met the Bruins in the playoffs was back in 1992, when they swept them 4-0 to go on to win their second consecutive Stanley Cup final. And this season, the Penguins were 3-0 against Boston. All 3 victories were by 1 goal. Vaucoon was 2-0 in those 3 starts. Or excuse me, in the 2 starts. Fleury got the other win. A 150 goals against average, 958 save percentage against the Bruins. In fact, they are 6-0 the past 6 times they've gone to the TD Garden in Boston. And Tuukka Rask 1-4 lifetime against the Pens. So I think these games will be close. I think this will be the first series the Penguins have where it will actually be like playoff hockey. I don't know if their offense will keep the pace it's going, but I think that it'll definitely be a lower scoring series than the first 2. And now you take a look at this Boston team. David Krejci leads the NHL playoffs right now in scoring with 17 points. Horton, 5th with 12. Some of the other key players, Patrice Bergeron has 7 points, Milan Lucic 10, Brad Marchand 9, Zdeno Chara 11. Really the one player who I thought would have a bigger playoffs was Tyler Seguin, who's their young sniper. Only has 4 points, only 1 goal in the entire playoffs. So you figure he's bound to have a game where he scores a lot of goals, and the Penguins are just going to try and keep him on a cold streak. The series is all about, I think, toughness. The Penguins know they have to play physical. The Bruins want to try and match that physicality, because they don't want to allow the Penguins to bully them and, get a goal and then keep attacking, because that's what they seem to like to do. They like to, when they get a goal, they like to pounce on an opponent. So that is what Boston will have to try and fret off. But it's just a matchup of superstars, Malkin, Letang, Crosby, all in the top 5 with points. I could see this going to 6 games. I think that's what's going to be my final prediction. I think the Penguins will win the series in 6 games. I just don't think Boston has enough. I would be surprised if they win a game at the Consol Energy Center. I just think the Penguins are playing too hot right now at home. I would expect the Bruins to maybe get 2 wins on their home ice. I could see it going 2-2, and then the Penguins win Game 5 at home and Game 6 back in Boston. But I just think this is going to be a fun series to watch. And a couple different storylines in this series that will definitely be worth watching. The first being Jarome Iginla. Of course, everyone knows during the trading deadline, Boston thought they had Iginla. They thought they had the deal for him, but he had the no-trade clause, and he disapproved the deal, came to the Penguins instead because he thought that he could win a cup there, had a better chance, and deservedly so. And it's just so fitting that both teams will end up playing each other in the Eastern Conference Finals. And another will be Jaromir Jagr, making his way back to Pittsburgh. Of course, last year he was with the Flyers when they eliminated the Penguins in the first round of the playoffs. This year, he's not doing that much at all in the playoffs. He looks like a deer in the headlights. Only has 4 assists. I still think, though, that he has the capability to have, a few breakout games. I'm expecting him to score at least once in the series against the Pens, because I just think it's going to get him rejuvenated and pumped to play against this former team that drafted him. And it'll be interesting to see, of course, the reaction he'll get from the fans, the console, and just to see the way he plays. You figure he's going to be getting a lot of checks, a lot of hard checks, from the likes of Orpik and Murray, Crankshaft. So it'll just be a lot of fun to see him back skating against the Penguins. And one surprise player that you got to keep your eyes on for the Bruins has been defenseman Torrey Krug, who was an undrafted free agent whose first game was in the second round. His first NHL game came against the Rangers, and in that round, he scored 4 times in 5 games. So he's someone you definitely have to look out for, because he's looking to me like he's going to be in the NHL for a long time to come. So the Penguins are going to make sure they keep an eye on him. But this series should be a lot of fun. Penguins 4-2 is my prediction, and they will wait the winner of the other series in the Western Conference, I believe, for the Stanley Cup Finals. Now, if we take a look at the Western Conference, the Red Wings have a 3-2 series edge on the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks avoided elimination last night, beating the Red Wings 3-1. And in this game, in the series, I mean, it's just been the Red Wings' domination, I think, of the Blackhawks. And I believe, though, that if they cannot win Game 6 in Detroit tomorrow night, then the Blackhawks will win the series, because I just think a Game 7 going back to Chicago will just be too much for Detroit to handle. Even though they have all that leadership and veterans there, I just think it's going to be the Blackhawks all the way. But I have a feeling, though, that this will go to Game 7. The Red Wings will close out the series in Game 6. I just think the Pavel Datsyuk, Henrik Zetterberg combination, I just think the Blackhawks, they slipped up here. They were the most dominant team in the regular season, but we all know how that turns out in the playoffs. Usually it's hard for them to reach the Stanley Cup Finals. In the other series, the Battle of California, the Kings have a 3-2 edge on the Sharks. Game 6 tonight in San Jose. Each team has won on home ice. I expect that trend to continue. I think the Kings will win it in 7. Really, I can't fault. I mean, both teams have strong goaltenders. They play well on home ice. I just think the Kings, the defending Stanley Cup champions, they just have a little bit more with the crowd advantage, and they're going to get the win in the series win in 7 games. So my prediction, it will be the Kings and the Red Wings in the finals, and I'm really hoping, I'm inching at the bit to see a rematch of the 2008 and 2009 Stanley Cup Finals, where it's the Penguins and the Red Wings to get the rubber match, to see who will take the best of 3 in the Stanley Cup Finals. So hopefully that comes to fruition, but if not, I mean, regardless, these playoffs have just been great to watch, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these upcoming games. And now we're going to switch it over to some baseball talk. The Pirates recently had a 10-game homestand, and like I said a couple weeks ago, I said if they do not go at least 6-4, it would be a failed homestand, but they ended up doing better than what I thought. They go 8-2. They take 3 of 4 from the Brewers, 2 of 3 from the Astros, and they finished it off recently with a 3-game sweep of the Chicago Cubs. And in that series, started off with the first game. It was an emotional. It was a very emotional game. The Pirates were down. Matt Garza pitching phenomenally in the game. He had a pitch count because it was his first start coming off the DL. Only went 5 innings, and the Pirates capitalized when he was taken out because in the 6th inning, in the 6th inning, Travis Snider came up, bases were loaded, and Pirates were down 3-1. Pinch hitting for Clint Barmas. What does Snider do? Hits a grand slam just over the center field wall to give the Pirates the victory. In the end, they win the game 5-4, and then follow that up with a strong pitching performance, another one by Francisco Liriano, who is now 3-0 with the Pirates. He's just been superb. They win the game 1-0, besting Jeff Samardzija, getting some revenge for that opening day loss. And then Thursday, Edwin Jackson, who has just been so poor, struggled. He's now 1-7. They got a good outing from Jimor Gomez. After rain delay, Mazzaro comes in, pitches well. Pirates take the game 4-2 and sweep the Cubs. And so they went now into the 3-game series on the road with the Milwaukee Brewers. And in the first game, they just could not best Marco Estrada. He somehow just finds a way to always beat the Pirates, 5-0 in his career against them. They lose the game 5-2. And before I get into yesterday's game, I want to talk a little bit about Travis Snider. He is just finding his way at the plate right now. When they traded for him last year, fans were upset because they didn't want to get rid of Brad Lincoln. But Snider, he has definitely proven that he can be the right fielder for the future for the Pirates. I really thought that was going to be Tabata. I mean, both are playing well, but Snider has just been finding his way at the plate. One of the leaders among the team in doubles. He had a triple in the Chicago game a few nights ago. The power is starting to show. He's just finding a way to get the timely hits, which is needed because, he's batting in the number 2 spot normally between Marte and McCutchen, who are two of the better players right now in the game today. So I just think he has been a solid right fielder. He's definitely improved from a year ago and definitely playing a lot better than I thought he would. And now, the game yesterday against the Brewers, Jeff Locke going up against Mike Fiers, filling in for a spot start for Kyle Loesch. And in this game, it was just about the home run ball. Andrew McCutchen hitting with 2 outs in the first inning, gets a home run. Top of the second, Alvarez hits a two-run homer to right field, a line drive shot, his 9th of the year. Then Walker in the 4th gets a home run to put the Pirates up 4-0. And then in the top of the 9th, Alvarez, his 2nd home run of the game, gives the Pirates a 5-2 victory. And Locke has just been superb. In this game, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. And that's who I want to talk about now, Jeff Locke. I remember in spring training, I said if they had a pick, it would be between Jonathan Sanchez, Kyle McPherson for that 5th spot in the rotation. Well, Jeff Locke has definitely proven me wrong. He has shown he comes back even when McDonald comes back. Locke is now 5-1, comes back even when McDonald comes back. Locke is now 5-1, has the best record among the starting rotation, a 2.45 ERA, the lowest ERA in the rotation, even lower than A.J. Burnett. And he now, for the 2nd time, has a streak of consecutive innings of scoreless ball. This time the streak's now at 13 innings. And in the past 3 starts, his strikeout rate has gone up. 17 strikeouts in his last 3 starts. I believe just because of the mentorship that A.J. Burnett is providing for Locke. He's having a way with his pitches. He's able to control himself. His velocity is increasing more, and he doesn't seem to get nervous a lot. If he allows a home run or gets into a situation where there's runners in the corners, say 1 out or no outs. It seems like he's more confident in himself, and he credits that to Burnett, the presence of the other veteran pitchers, the Pirates pitching staff. He's just been a great surprise all around. So I really look forward to what he has to bring coming down the stretch here in the later part of the season, because if he stays in the rotation, he could be a quality arm that could help the Pirates stay in this race for the Central and the playoffs. So Locke has definitely been a surprise, and I think he could garner some of the votes now for the first quarter MVP for the Pirates, just because of how well he has pitched. And now I want to go to another pitcher in the rotation, and that is A.J. Burnett. I want to correct myself. The Pirates lost the game 2-1 in the first game of the series against the Brewers. And in this game, Burnett, he pitched great. Only had the 1 inning where he gave up consecutive doubles. It was a 24-pitch inning in the bottom of the 2nd. The Pirates lost the game 2-1. They could only muster a run off Estrada. Burnett went 7 innings, only gave up 3 hits, couple walks, couple runs, 6 strikeouts. The Pirates actually had more hits than the Brewers in the game, 5-4. Estrada was just that much more better than Burnett. 73 of his 100 pitches were for strikes. He just got ahead of her hitters throughout the game. And if you look at Burnett now, he's now dropped to 3-5, but his numbers are just incredible. A 2.57 ERA, 85 strikeouts. The problem is run support. The Pirates have only scored as a team 27 runs in his 11 starts. That's only just a little bit above 2 per game. And 5 times when Burnett has took the mound, they've only scored 1 run or less. So, I know it's frustrating for a pitcher when you go up and you know that the margin for error is slim to none when you're up there, because it seems like he's always going against the other team's ace. And the Pirates, it's hard for them to muster runs off of him. So Burnett has to just be that much more perfect. But, it comes over time. That should change. And I know, Burnett, he is a veteran, so I don't think he's going to be as mad as, say, a younger pitcher would with not getting run support. But I'm sure in the next couple starts to come, the Pirates should be able to put enough runs up on the board for Burnett to get some more some more wins added to his record. And now the Pirates have become the fastest to 30 wins since their 1990 team. They have a 30-19 record, 1.5 games behind the St. Louis Cardinals. The Reds just keep on winning, who are in front of the Pirates as well. If the season ended today, the Reds and the Pirates would be the two wild card teams. I see this being a 3-team race now. I know it's only the end of May, but the Cubs and Brewers I don't think have enough to try and make any kind of leaping ability above any of the top 3 teams. So I think it'll just be about which team does the best against the other 2 teams. Because it seems like the Pirates, the Reds, and the Cardinals, they seem to be faring pretty well against other teams in the National League and in the American League. So that's what I see happening in this division coming down the stretch. And the Pirates now will have a huge 10-game series, 10-game stretch, where they will play 4 against the Detroit Tigers, 3 against the Reds, and 3 against the Atlanta Braves. 2 on the road in Detroit, then 2 back home at PNC Park against the Tigers, then 3 at home against the Reds, then 3 on the road against the Braves. The Detroit Tigers, they've been one of the better teams in the American League. They have the phenomenal pitching staff with Justin Verlander, who the Pirates will face Monday, Rick Porcello, Doug Fister, Anibal Sanchez. Thankfully, they will not have to go up against Max Scherzer, who is undefeated at this point. But it should be a really good challenge for the Pirates, and I think if they can come out of that, splitting to the series, I think that would be enough said, because the Pirates have fared well against teams who are above 500. I believe they're 12-6 against teams with winning records so far in this young season. So that's something to keep your hat on. And of course, they've performed well against the under 500 teams, which you should do if you want to be a competitive team in baseball. Then a big 3-game series at home against the Reds. I think it's a must that they win that series, because the Reds are playing even a little bit better than the Pirates, as hard as that is to say. They are 16-4 in their last 20 games. The Pirates are 12-3 in their last 15. So I think that'll just be a fun series to watch. Joey Votto's finally clicking for the Reds. McCutcheon's starting to click for the Pirates. That should be a fun 3-game series at PNC Park. And then 3 on the road against the Braves, who have recently won 8 in a row. The Pirates took 3 of 4 from the Braves back at PNC Park in the end of April. So that should be another good, tough series and a nice challenge for the Pirates to see where they're at right now with the teams who are likely to be there in October in the playoffs. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about the Steelers. I wanted to comment. They signed 3 more rookies to 4-year contracts. Wide receivers Marcus Wheaton and Justin Brown, and then cornerback Terry Hawthorne. So they now have 5 of their 9 draft picks signed. Wheaton, Brown, Hawthorne, Vince Williams, and Shamarko Thomas. Still waiting to sign their number 1 pick, Jarvis Jones, their number 2 pick, Le'Veon Bell. I have a feeling those deals would come now within a couple weeks. But the Steelers have started OTAs. Players have been there. Looks like most of them are they're ready and they're pumped up. They're ready to put that 8-8 year behind them, and it's looking like it's going to be quite a season for the Steelers with all the new turnover and all the new players. So that'll be something interesting to see. And Emmanuel Sanders is one who you have to keep an eye on. This is definitely going to be a contract year for him, whether it is with one of the other 31 NFL teams or whether the Steelers are going to offer him a big contract. He wants to play well, something that Mike Wallace did not really do for the Steelers last year, but Sanders really wants to prove that he is a starting receiver alongside Antonio Brown, and I expect him to have a good season for the Steelers. And now the final topic of today's show will just be a little bit, I'm going to talk about the NBA playoffs. The Memphis Grizzlies, who were my pick to make it to the NBA Finals and to win it all, it does not look like that's going to happen, because the San Antonio Spurs now have a 3-0 series lead. And the first 2 games at San Antonio, they just out-muscled the Grizzlies. Tony Parker admitted that he got tired at the end of the second game, and they did not attack him. Mike Conley was just not a good factor in that game. He could have had their moments where he could have drove to try to get Parker, make him run around the court, but he didn't capitalize on that. The big men for the Spurs have been the difference. Thiago Splitter and Tim Duncan are outplaying Zach Randolph and Marc Gasol, who have pretty much been the Grizzlies' offense. And other than that, the Grizzlies don't really have a pulse in the series. They might be able to win Game 4 in Memphis, but I don't see them getting past Game 5 in San Antonio. The most recent game last night, the Spurs won in overtime. The game was tied at 89, and, without Rudy Gay, who they traded to Toronto midseason, the Grizzlies do not have a player where they can create their own shot. Mike Conley would be the closest, but they would have to run a pick and roll for him. And Marc Gasol tried to screen to get Conley to drive to the rim, but Thiago Splitter did a nice job of defending, and Conley put up a contested shot that wasn't close. And the Spurs were just too much in overtime. So I guess just the veteran play of the Spurs has been the difference, and it's proving that they won another ring in what could be the final year of Tim Duncan and Tony Parker playing together. And in the other series, in the Eastern Conference, you have the Miami Heat and the Indiana Pacers. The series is now tied, 1 game apiece. Indiana stole a game in Miami to have home court advantage now. And in that game, Roy Hibbert was there in the end. He was not there for Game 1. Just the great play of George Hill, Paul George. Paul George is matching LeBron James, I believe, stat for stat. James is trying to do it all himself. He had 33 points in Game 2, and that's something that's not the winning formula for the Heat. They won the trophy last year because it was a team effort. Dwayne Wade has admitted sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not for him. Chris Bosh is not playing well at all. He is matched up with Roy Hibbert, and he's quicker than him, but he has just been not able to hit his perimeter shots. So I would expect Miami to try and employ a different strategy where Bosh will be able to attack Hibbert. Because Hibbert, he's just been a dominant force in the paint. Shane Battier and Ray Allen have just been transparent for the Heat so far in these first 2 games. And I think that if the Heat can at least win one of the 2 in Indiana, they're going to take the series. But if Indiana gets these next 2 games, I think the Pacers are going to be reaching the finals for the first time in over a decade. So the Heat better come ready to play, because the Pacers, they have had the Heat's number in the regular season the past 2 years. Of course, the Heat got them in the playoffs last year, but the Pacers know that they can play with this team, that they can beat them. So I expect this series to go 7 games, but virtually I think the Heat will have enough to win. But if the Pacers win these next 2 games, I think Indiana's taking it. So that'll be something to look forward to as well. But that will do it, though, for today's show. Next week, sure to get into the start of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Penguins and the Bruins, and also the Western Conference Finals, whether it be with the Red Wings against the Sharks, Kings, Red Wings, Kings, Blackhawks, Sharks, Blackhawks. Any of the 4 matchups are still a possibility. Talk more about the Pirates, how they'll fare against the Detroit Tigers and the Cincinnati Reds. Any other news happening with the Steelers? Will the Spurs have the series wrapped up against the Grizzlies? Will the Heat and Pacers still be deadlocked in their series? So definitely we'll have a lot to get into on next week's show. So we'll be looking forward to doing that. Signing off, I'm Michael Kravetz, and you just listened to the Sports Wrap.